Kerry Weavand, and I want to speak to you today about this practice, which for me is a from within yoga practice. It's more of a rejuvenating, healing practice than a typical asana practice. Here I've condensed it to a 4-minute clip, but in actuality took more than 30 minutes. The Shavasana became the longest part of the practice because so much started to happen spontaneously in Shavasana as a result of the work in the 30-minute practice. 30 minutes by normal yoga standards is really short, but it was powerful enough to facilitate the Shavasana, which is what yoga is really about, isn't it? The transition from what we know to what we don't know, the finite to the infinite. So I start off in child's pose, falling into the floor, and that is to allow the bones to settle beyond my mental placement of bones, beyond my habitual placement of bones. And it also starts to allow me to feel what's going on inside my body, and thus settling my mind into my body. And so when I start off this practice in child's pose, I really have no idea where I'm going to go with the practice. What comes up in my body through activating and then surrendering dictates the flow of the practice. I start off the practice with a global intent to get into my body, to create deep connection. And then the more subtle intention depends on whatever I'm working with at the time in terms of struggles and frustration and feeling of grind or limitation that I want to find answers to, and then the practice is to facilitate those answers. So as I'm moving, there's movement and activation, strong enough physical engagement to stir up feeling and sensation awareness, and then the withdrawal of my involvement, the ego involvement, the doing, so that I can feel and experience what my body is experiencing and moving as a result of the action. And in this way, there's this dance of action and stepping back. And in the stepping back of my doing and mind, there's a feedback loop that starts to happen, that starts to integrate places in my body that habitually I'm not in connection with. As I notice the places that are tight and resistant and the places that are in flow, I then curate the rest of the practice to work with finding balance in all of these energies, the doing strong energy and the withdrawn energy, so that in the end, by Shavasana, these energies are dancing together. The pause is vitally important in the practice. It gives you the feedback loop, it gives you the knowing, and it taps into something deeper than mind. And it starts to move your prana, your vital life force, in a way that is, for me, all-powerful. And this is the idea that when you get to Shavasana, you've activated and connected into all the parts of yourself, that Shavasana is a whole internal experience. And by the time you get to Shavasana, you have withdrawn so much mind and ego that your Shavasana can do this delicious work for you.